Craziness on full display in L.A., where Mayor Eric Garcetti is begging people to turn down their air conditioners while a heat wave scorches the city with temperatures as high as 120 degrees. The mayor getting mocked for tweeting, "It's almost 3 p.m. Time to turn off your major appliances, set the thermostat to 78 degrees, turn off excess lights, and unplug any appliances you're not using." Greg, I mean, this is embarrassing. They can't open salons, they can't open restaurants, they can't keep the lights on. What's happening out there?
One of the bare minimum expectations of a government is that it can keep the lights on. And this is an incredibly wealthy state. The people are overtaxed, they're handicapped by punitive policies, and they can't keep the lights on. So I have an idea. When you think of monopolies, you always think of one company that has the entire market share, right? And they get to set the prices, but more important, they get to treat the customer like crap because you don't have any competition, right? Well, California is a monopoly in its mindset. It's a singular left-wing orthodoxy that sets the punitive taxes and sets the punitive policies, and the customer, i.e. the citizen in California, is screwed. So what do you do with monopolies? You break them up. California needs to be broken up so that the smart areas of the country can govern themselves. Orange County, for example, they don't need to be hooked up with Marin County. You don't need to be dragged down by those idiots. You could split California up probably 4, 5 different ways. There'll still be great places to visit. You'll still have a coast, but at least people will be able to enjoy their lives instead of this crazy nutso stuff.
Well, hopefully we can gerrymander it so we can get, more red states out of it. Dana, a lot of complicated factors mixed in here. You have, record high temperatures. You have a grid that's never been updated. You have overregulation of the utilities. They've done almost everything wrong.
Well, and I don't think that the mayor deserved the mockery, actually. I think that they're in a crisis where they need to flatten the curve, so to speak, on their electricity use while they're in the middle of a crisis with these record hot temperatures, and asking people to do a little bit to get through it. I don't think is that bad, at least in the short term. It's the long-term problem for California that, as you just touched on, the grid issue in particular. Part of the other thing is that you have all of these fires. And one of the problems that Californians love to talk about is climate change. What happens when you have massive forest fires that burn 2 million acres of forest? It throws a whole bunch of carbon up into the atmosphere. And that's all happening on public lands. The private landowners are the ones who are actually replanting, figuring out a way to be responsible and be smart with their forests. The public lands are not being taken care of. So California has this real weird dichotomy, right? They preach conservation, but they live in a way that doesn't match that, and then they end up with this problem.
Emily, your thoughts?
Well, that's exactly right. It's this extremist position that they've taken to climate and energy that's put them in this position. So instead of relying on a grid that's totally about renewables, they should be incorporating clean burning natural gas to meet that surge. And frankly, it's making Californians' lives miserable and putting their safety at risk for them to have this all or nothing approach to policy, renewables or nothing.
Yeah, Juan, they're phasing out nuclear and coal and natural gas and relying on wind and solar. But with the wind and solar, you don't get that quick burst that you need to surge and transmit the energy when you have a big heat wave like you do now.
This is not about fossil fuels, Jesse. This is about the grid, and I think it's about the lack of upgrading the wires and the substations.
I agree.
Dana was talking about this. I think that you have to talk about how you do a better job, and that's why Garcetti is right. He speaks as a community leader, and the community with those high temperatures is having a problem. Everyone needs to cooperate.